This episode, Horrors from the Job Site. It's our annual Halloween show, and we decided we would do some horrors from the job site. We're going to discuss some of the crazy things that both ourselves and our listeners have experienced on the job site. Welcome to the Handyman Pros Radio Show, home improvement and maintenance tips from the pros. Thanks for listening to another edition of the Handyman Pros Radio Show, where our goal is to help save you time, money, and aggravation on your home maintenance and repair. This edition's entitled Horrors on the Job Site. And to help me explain, I am here with my old buddy and good pal, John. Johnny, let's talk some Halloween horrors on the job site. We laugh because,
well, you know, it's kind of funny because every day when we catch up with each other, you know, there's always something crazy that we either, you know, run across, find, you know, somebody's horrible work, you know, something has to be fixed. But you know, I'm kind of reminded at this time of year that, you know, the other stuff that we run across. Whether it's
the real horrors, yeah,
right. Whether it's fixing some of the rental homes that we've both worked in, or it's you know, a barn that we're at, or you know, you just never know what you're going to run across in this business. You know, you kind of like a corner. You run across these things, but you know, a couple years ago, I'll bring this back up. A couple years ago, we were working on that rental house, remember? And that big freaking spider, that Black Widow was crawling.
Oh yeah! Oh my God!
We opened up the wall and that thing came crawling out of there.
Yeah. So folks, that's a definitely a southern thing. So if you live in the south, you know, definitely in the southeast. I know other parts of the country as well.
Oh, you'll find those things everywhere, man.
Yeah,
you
gotta
be real
be
careful.
Really careful. Yeah, because you will find black widows and snakes too. That's one of the other things. And also brown recluses. I don't know if I ever told that story.
You got to be real careful. They're everywhere.
Yeah, I got bitten one time, and I really didn't know it. Honestly, I really didn't know it. But I had this sore on the top of my ankle, you know. And one day this is a million years ago, and I'm in my where I kept my stuff, you know. And I'm talking to the guy, and the guy looks at it, and he goes, "Man, that looks bad." And he's looking at it, and he sits there. He goes, "That looks like a brown recluse spider bite." And I'm like, "What?"
Yeah,
like I didn't even know. And he goes, "What's that?" And he pulls up on the internet pictures of like people that have their arms amputated from having a brown recluse. And I look at it, and I'm like, "Oh my God." And so I go to the doctor, and long story short, this was just after the anthrax scare. They put me on Cipro because I was so infected with this thing. I mean, my whole ankle was swollen and all.
Oh yeah.
And it cleaned me out. But just to give you a perspective, folks, Cipro is like super heavy antibiotics. But that was scary. And to this day, I still don't really know where that spider came from. But you know, who knows? But it was definitely a brown recluse because they leave a very distinctive, like it's almost like a little volcano shaped.
Yeah, it's
bite.
awful.
But
it's awful. You just have to be real careful out there, you know.
Yep.
And this is kind of the Halloween show, but you know, there's other scary things that I've certainly seen. But Larry, you know, go ahead. You know, we got some pictures here.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this show, go to our YouTube channel and watch this one. There are some pictures of some of the scary things. Probably this year, the biggest, scariest. It wasn't scary, but I remove a cabinet from a kitchen, right? Because I'm going to actually go paint the cabinet out in the thing. And what to my wondering eyes appears should underneath the cabinet is, Johnny, are you throwing that picture up there? Is this rat, and it was a true rat. It was not a mouse. It was a rat. It was a good, I don't know, 10 inches long, you know, including the tail.
Yeah, it's a rat.
And that bad boy was mummified. Like I felt like it was the Tutankhamun, you know, mummy.
And let me tell you, you know how that thing must have stunk for a while. Oh.
For a while, boy.
Woo,
but
man.
When I found him, his skin was like leather. And there's the picture of him. When I should have taken a picture when I picked him up, because I picked him up by the tail and he came up as one, you know, nothing broke. He came up as like one solid piece, like a board. And it was really something else. And it was a little bit like, oh, there's a surprise. Look at that. Isn't that special? I guess the good news is, John, it was only a rat. It could have been worse. So
Oh man, yeah,
what's
that's pretty nasty. One of the things that I found is code violations. And that's kind of a horror story all of it in and of itself.
that's the future. That's the future horrors, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the future horrors. And so I'll throw this picture up. I'm in Florida, and and we're in this bar or something. I don't know where it was, in Jensen Beach or wherever. And my brother-in-law, he goes, "Hey man, you gotta go in the bathroom and check this code line." And they got a heater. If you can see it on the left-hand side, they got a heater for the sink, and it's plugged in through behind the toilet with an extension cord that's
Oh, that's
busted
safe.
right through the wall.
Yeah,
So they
busted
just
for
popped a hole through the wall through an extension cord, right? And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, this place is going to go up.
that. I don't even want to mention what I'm thinking, but for all you men, think about a plugged-in extension cord and
On the floor next to the
don't
toilet. Not a
don't
good, yeah,
mix.
not a good, not a good, so, but
Yeah.
I've seen some other things. One of the things that you were talking about, Larry, and I'm sure a lot of our the folks out there have done it as well as going to a slow sink.
Ooh, I did one this year, John. I mean, I even wrote it up in the notes. I wrote it up as the hair snake. Folks, if you're looking at my face and the expression, I mean, it was like I pulled that bad boy out with one of those zip puller tie, the zip cleaners, right? I had actually taken the stopper out and I stuck the zip thing down in there and it came out. And I mean, it was a good 14 or 15 inches long and it was as big around as the inch and a quarter
Oh yeah,
drain pipe on the sink. And I was like, I mean, it even right now, it's almost
yeah.
making
That's
me
it's
gag. I mean,
yeah.
it was, oh my
I
God.
did the same
Oh,
thing. I actually couldn't get the hair thing to get it out.
oh,
I had to take the P trap off, and pull the whole thing out with a pair of pliers. And
oh.
it was like a wig. It was so it was so nasty. And the poor girl, she it was the daughter of the folks, and she
Yeah,
had
yeah.
long hair, and I'm like, has this sink been slow lately? She goes, yeah, this has been slow a long time. I'm like, yeah, look what I pulled. Oh my God. I said, when you, hey, a little tip here is, if you got long hair, especially the girls are, and the hair is falling out and stuff, when you're young and it's all over the place, take a step back before you comb your hair so you don't comb it over the sink.
Well, or if you do come, my wife has long hair, and I'm just going to give out this tip. So she combs her hair, and of course she leaves as I say, a virtual rat's nest
Yeah.
in the sink every day. But before she doesn't turn the water on, she actually takes a tissue paper and
Yeah, you got to
mops
get,
it
and
all
a
up
lot
and
of
gets it
people,
out of there.
yeah, a lot of
You
people
know,
just try to wash it down. It's like, no, no, that
no,
ain't gonna work.
it,
It gets pretty nasty. But
it gets
I know also, Larry, that you were just working on some stairs, and
yeah.
this is classic. Okay,
This is
folks, this is
classic.
classic because a lot of times in this construction business and stuff, these guys find a place to throw all kinds of stuff, while they're constructing a house where they think nobody will ever, see it maybe in the next 30 or 50 years when they take
Yeah, what
something apart.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So this was a home that we took the carpet out of the home and we were replacing the stairs with treads. So it's actual from going from 2x6 treads to true stair treads. So I expected to find some stuff, right? Because there's always some stuff that's up underneath when you do any of these kinds of renovations, like you get into walls and stuff, there's usually some stuff. There's drywall dust, and usually there's sawdust, and there's things like that. This was a little bit more. So the house was built in 2000, and so I only know that because there was a receipt in the lunch bag that the guy left under there with the remnants of what he didn't eat in there, by the way, in underneath the thing, and it said, September of 19 or of 2000. I keep for whatever reason I keep thinking 1980, but it wasn't 1980. It was 2000. But I mean, there was John. trash is an understatement. I mean, a partially eaten lunch. There was, the usual water bottles and Coke bottles and drywall tape and drywall dust and what else was under there? Nails and every bit of construction debris you can think of was underneath this stairwell.
Yeah,
So much, right? And I have to give you the auditory visual, right? I didn't take a picture because it just didn't matter, but I used the large 55-gallon trash bags, construction trash bags. You all know what they are. You get them at Home Depot, the big thick ones. Stood it up in a trash can. John, I filled half that bag up, half of the 55-gallon bag with trash from underneath those stairs. Now, to give you perspective, the stairwell where you actually could access it was about 6 feet roughly across, maybe 7. By 3 feet wide, a half a bag's worth of trash. I had to use a shovel. I was going to use the vacuum, and I'm like, no, that's too much stuff. It filled. I can't remember how many shovelfuls, but it was shovelfuls of just construction debris and trash and bottles and the half-eaten lunch. I mean, the guy left his lunch bag in there. I was like, you got to be kidding me. He didn't even finish it. It's like the French fries were still
well,
good,
it's easier. So they let you clean the place up. They weren't going to do it.
Oh, and John, I mean, how many times have you run into similar situations?
You see a lot of, I've seen a lot of it behind the walls. So if I had to open up drywall, it seems like there's a bunch of crap behind there. The other thing is it's, that I find it is kind of creepy because it surfaces every once in a while as the certain parts of the lawn and stuff kind of erode in certain spots. All of a sudden, like towards where the woods are and stuff, the
trash pit.
It's not a trash pit, but basically it should have been a trash pit, but it's getting more exposed as the dirt erodes, the soil erodes, and stuff comes to the surface. And just trying to find the words on this, it's like I'm finding cans, plastic bottles, bottle tops. It's like everybody that was working on the house was just throwing all the crap back there, and somebody else pick up. Nope. Then here comes the guy, on the Bobcat, right, to grade out the place, just grade right over the top of everything.
Yep. Just crazy.
So you're always, I'm like, what the hell is all this stuff? I got to get a shovel out and a pick, and I'm pulling stuff out of the ground, and it's all, waiting for like a hand coming up. Well, like the end of Deliverance, and it's the weirdest. It is the weirdest thing.
So I think I told this story in one of our previous Halloween stories, but you talk about that hand coming up. So I did a lot of in the septic industry when I was working selling trucks and stuff. And one of the guys was telling me, he said this. I said, "What's the scariest thing you ever found in a septic tank?" And he said, I opened the tank and there is this hand sticking up out of the crust, right? So on top of the septic tank, there's this crust.
Yo.
He's like, there's this hand, and he's like, oh my God, right? Because he's figuring there's actually a body underneath this, which folks happens. Okay, so it's not uncommon. But anyway, long story short, he gets out his crust breaking tool, he breaks it up. It's a rubber glove. It was up out of the crust.
Jeez.
But he was one.
That'll freak. I got all kinds of other stories. I'm not going to go through them right now. Speaking of that, because we're going to start running short on time. But
yep. It is. We just wanted to bring up some of these.
If you've ever had folks that speaking of Halloween, if you've ever known folks that have worked in a cemetery, there's some pretty nasty. Anyways, I hope everybody's going to have a great Halloween. This should air on the 31st.
Yeah, 31st.
In the morning.
Yep.
So, everybody stay safe out there and, have a lot of fun with the kids.
Johnny, have you had any horror stories coming out of the spaceships? Have you? Because I know you're constantly taking the freaking things apart when they land in your yard.
No, Larry. No. Speaking of gloves, no. Moon River. So
Well, folks, once again, that signifies that the show's end is near. If you do like this show, please send a link off to your friends and neighbors. Tell them we have some good information every once in a while. I think the tip on this show is if you find a bunch of trash in behind your walls, don't be surprised.
Get right. Right. There's the takeaway. Don't be surprised, and be
don't be
careful pulling
surprised.
stuff apart.
Yeah, be careful pulling stuff apart. But anyway, if you do like this show, please send it to your friends and neighbors. We do have a Facebook group that's at Handyman Pros. You can send us an email at questions@handymanprosradioshow.com or at handymanprosradioshow@gmail.com. Either way, we will put your suggestions out there on the air. We've actually got a couple that we're going to do in a future show. So with that, we will see you next week on the Handyman Pros Radio Show.